Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Leadership Talks for Emerging Leaders. On the 8th of March, we celebrated International Women's Day. And for this reason, Leadership Talks for Emerging Leaders, hosted by Leadership Card, a coaching training organization supporting emerging leaders, is dedicating the month of March to all the strong women leaders from different walks of life. This year's theme for Women's Day was Embrace Equity. So let's do our part to create a gender-equal world, a world free of biases, stereotypes, and discrimination. A world where differences is valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women equality. Collectively, we can all embrace equity. I'm your friend, Kirandeep Sandhu, a leadership coach. In today's episode, our topic of discussion is setback leadership. Today, we have the privilege of having with us Ms Srijata Bhatnagar. Srijata is a Setback Leadership Champion, Keynote speaker, author. She works with CXO leaders, women leaders, and organizations to convert their setbacks into opportunities for exponential growth. Through her Setback SOP framework, she transforms their why me approach to wow, it's me mindset. Fun fact, she's a dog mom, a human mom of a typical teenager. She's a sucker for old melodies and classic comedies and romantic movies. One of her hobbies is to connect with strangers and build bonds with new people. And that's the reason probably why we are here today with Srijata. Thank you so much, Srijata, for being on this show, and welcome.
Thank you, Kiran. And yes, that is the reason that we are here together today. Hadn't we connected with each other while we were strangers, we wouldn't be here together. So bring it on.
Absolutely. I would like for our viewers, we have met on LinkedIn and probably been connecting as strangers and posting, and that actually can result in a relationship where you have an audience and you go meet somebody and it feels like I know this person. So it is possible for women leaders and everybody to connect. So yes, strangers, it's an amazing thing. So coming to Srijata, we are celebrating women this month. It's Women's History Month. It's Women International Day was celebrated. And this year it's all about embracing equity. Would you be able to share with our listeners that how can your thoughts on equity?
So equity, luckily I have only one kid. Let's say I had 3 kids and 3 of them wanted food. I decide to give them each 2 rotis, right? Then one says, no, I don't need 2, I need 1. Another says, no, 2 is not enough for me and I need 3. And one says, okay, 2 is just enough for me. Now, instead of giving 1, 2, and 3 to each one of them, I've given them 2, 2, and 2. I've been unequitable here. So that's as simple as that. Similarly, when in organizations, someone decides, okay, this is equality. We are talking about equality, and therefore everything is equal. That doesn't work sometimes. You need to give them a platform. You need to give your leaders a platform that they need to grow, to perform, and to be productive. That is what equity is all about.
Right, well put. And as we were talking about that, starting with the children in the home, organizations have also different children who are women, men, gender differences. We have people from different races. We have people who are basically different. And we can't be treating all of them equal. We have to create that platform of equity because the needs may be different, and how can they perform at their optimum best is what the organization needs to do. Thank you so much, Srijata. All right, let's get to your first book titled Setback Leadership. Would you be able to share what got you to think about setbacks as a leadership style which leaders should embrace?
I think it was my own setbacks. It was my
Mm,
own challenges that I was facing. And let me tell you, Kiran, I have faced a huge amount of them. Well, none of
mm,
them have been really life threatening. I have
mhm,
not gone through experience near death experience in my life. That's very true. But at the same time, there has been a lot of those tiny little moments which were life altering,
mm,
which could have really changed me as a human being. And
mm,
it had changed me as a human being, from being this happy go lucky, smart, always lovable kid, to a really grumpy, full of self doubt, full of anger, anxiousness, anxiety, that kind of a kid, eventually in my youth, well, I'm still young, but in my early youth, I mean to say, right? So those challenges that I have faced in throughout my career, I've been having a plus 20 plus years of experience in the professional world, and I have probably taken many detours which
mm,
a lot of people are scared of, right? I mean, I have started my career, I was in marketing MBA, and even though I was a marketing MBA, I started my career in human resource. Okay, that was the first detour. Then I
mm,
moved to sales, then I moved to marketing, then I moved to operations, then I moved to product management. And from there, from the corporate world, I jumped into entrepreneurship.
mm,
There as well, I faced many challenges. I had to close my company down, first company down, second company down, due to various reasons, which we'll talk about eventually. Then I moved from there to being a speaker and an author today,
mm,
and a setback leadership champion. So throughout these years, the challenges, the setbacks that I have faced that could have really stopped me from moving forward has actually enhanced my growth.
mm,
And that's when the idea of setback leadership came into the picture. I was like, okay, if this is happening with me, then why not talk to other people, other leaders, and see how do they react to these challenges. And that's how my first book was actually born. I interviewed leaders from across the world, from different genres, from different spaces, etc. And I started recording their conversations, recording their responses about challenges, about adversities, and how they responded back from there, and they thrived back because of that. So that's how the book was born, honestly.
mm. Very, I mean, setback leadership is a style on its own, and we're talking about it in terms of how it's why me to wow, it's me, and it's a shift that we have to create. So, Sujata, can you share with our listeners probably three main challenges and how did you convert them into that wow, me? How did you that shift? I mean, maybe three challenges and how that actually created that shift for you?
Yeah, so see, whenever any of us face challenges, any of us face setbacks, or any of us face adversity in our way, there are things that are happening that are stopping us from doing our best. Okay,
Yeah.
the first thing is that, see, invariably, because as human beings, we are trained to get into a flight or fight response whenever we are faced with something that is dangerous.
Hmm.
Now, earlier, dangerous used to be really dangerous. Let's say, it was a life-threatening situation. Today, our mind, perceives anything that is slightly uncomfortable for us as dangerous.
Danger.
So that flight and fight response really doesn't work. So that's the challenge number one. Second challenge is that we all have a well beaten process in our head every time we are hit with a challenge, and
Hmm.
that process is most often unproductive and
Hmm.
self sabotaging. That's the second challenge that we face. Third challenge that we face is, because of this process, we make decisions, we take actions that we regret later.
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
how do you really, uh, now then, you get rid of all of these things, the challenges that are there? So
Hmm.
my simple way of doing it is, which is what I do with myself every day. I mean, I was facing a challenge just as close as last week, where I didn't have
Hmm.
power in my house, and in a country like US, where it is cold, and especially right now, it was raining, it was a storm and all of that, and the power was not there. I couldn't cook, I couldn't heat, I couldn't get water. I pretty much couldn't do anything. I couldn't have bath, I couldn't work, I couldn't do anything. So how do I then change it? It was simply a process called power of reframing.
Mm.
What you do in power of reframing is, first of all, first calm yourself down to a space where you're neutral about your challenge. You have to be able to see things more realistically, more objectively, and without attached emotions. Once you get to that space, think of three things that could happen good to you because of this challenge,
Mm.
and three opportunities that that particular challenge has brought to you to explore. And now think back as to the challenge and see, is it really that big?
It's very powerful tips that you have shared with our listeners, which is about rephrasing the good that can come out and the opportunities. And as worldwide we are facing this one recession, we are getting laid off. People are getting laid off, and there are constant setbacks. I mean, they are facing these setbacks because um, what next? These are probably strategies that we can utilize to really think about, from why me, that blame game, to wow, it was me and because of which I grew. So, with that, I think, thank you, Shrishna. I'm going to add to all our listeners today that Shrishna's book, the link to it is going to be in the description box. So, do take this opportunity to get and grab a copy of it, because she talks about setback leadership and how you can develop your own leadership style of dealing with setbacks and growing as a leader. Now let's go on to the next question, Srijata. Srijata, that we are constantly as women facing setbacks,
Yeah.
where it's about home, it's about work, and that setback comes where can I do it or I need to quit, right? So in that case, uh, how can organizations support more talented women so that they can continue their career progression?
Yes, for sure. See, all women out there, I know what you mean. We are all walking on tight ropes all the time, and we are balancing with a rod in our hand, with a rope, or with a stick in our hand, which is trying to balance it properly. This reminds me of a cartoon I was seeing where this woman is trying to walk, 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 or rather, I think this was a hedgehog or something like that, was trying to
Okay.
walk within the wheel and was not getting anywhere. It's continuously walking and not getting anywhere. So all of us are facing that situation now. Let's, I know that is happening. I appreciate and I acknowledge and I truly associate with that. But to answer your question about organizations, I think before I ask how can organizations help women, I think first organizations need to know why should they be even worried or concerned about this. How does it matter to them?
Mm,
What's in it for them? Why should they contemplate doing something specific, something special, so that women feel better in the workplace? So
mm,
to do that, I'm going to ask this question to organizations straight there.
mm,
And the question is, in your organization, are you happy with 50% performance, or do you really want 100% performance?
mm,
Because if you want to get 100% performance, it's
mm,
important you create an equitable space for women so that they can perform their best. Because I can assure you, as a woman, when a woman performs, they perform in 200%, but you have to give them that environment to perform.
mm,
So that's the question number one. Now, to answer how can organizations do it? Well, there are many, many set ways to help. Like, I mean, I remember reading a book about women. It's called Invisible Women. And
mm.
in that book, the author, I think Carolyn Pereira, that's her name is, and she mentions that in Facebook, when Sheryl Sandberg was pregnant. That's when
Mhm.
she realized that there was no proper special parking associated for pregnant women in the
Mhm.
organization. Facebook office is huge. You
Mhm.
park in one area and then walk 2 kilometers to get to the office. You have a designated parking area. So that's how they created a process where pregnant women could park near to her office, near to
Mhm.
wherever she works, so that she doesn't have to walk too much and slow down her pace so that she can save her energy for the work she needs to do. So these are small, small nuances that can be done for organizations. Now look at your women folks. Ask them what do they need. Don't
Mhm.
assume, don't judge, or don't say that I know what they need and therefore come up with certain processes or the others. Call them in, ask them what processes do they need, what would
Mhm.
make their life easier. It could be, let's say, we give driver allowances to our leaders so that they don't have to bother about driving around and they can productively use their time. What about giving allowances for women who have children for childcare?
Mhm.
Isn't that equal to allowances? So things like that can be brought into the picture. Now, again, it depends upon organization to organization, what kind of women are working in your organization and what are their needs, and how can you fulfill that so that you get 100% of their performance.
And very strongly put, Srijata, that at the top leadership positions itself, we have, as we go up the ladder, the number of women going up also starts dissipating. And we have decision makers who are not the ones who are directly going to be impacting us. We have decisions and policy being designed by people who are not the ones who are going to be the ones taking that policy. So I think we have to be, the voice has to be there that we need more women leaders in top decision making positions so that they can be part of that process so that they can support. And I'm not only talking about women, it actually, when we're talking about embracing equity, it's about embracing people who are different, uh,
Yes,
so that
absolutely.
their needs can also be addressed by the in the decision making positions, so that policies that are implemented are actually equal, or are fair for everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that comes to that policy, and as what you shared, that example of Facebook, only when she was in that position, she realized that impact of not having that designated parking and
Yes.
what it was creating on her own productivity. So I think that is a very powerful example. And I'm also going to direct my listeners to watch the previous episode 52, which was with Ms Priya Nair, and what her organization did when they found out that she was 8 months pregnant, and when she asked for her maternity leave. In fact, she was asked that it was either you continue working till 9 months or you quit now. And now that's the kind of decisions which people who don't know what that impact is going to have on you are creating and saying it to them.
Not again. All I can say is not again, because I have been in something similar situation where I
Yeah.
had been demoted because I
Ah.
had given childbirth and come back to work after 5, 6 months of maternity leave.
I mean, so when we are saying that we are creating organizations which are fair to women, how is it going to be fair if we are going to demote a woman, or actually say you got to quit if you because you can't perform until your the full ninth trimester? So I think that's where the whole call comes. We need more women leaders to be in decision maker positions. We need more male allies and
Yes,
champions to be there, to be
yes,
supporting us in those boardrooms so that we can grow as leaders and be equitable.
yes. Very true. Very true.
Very true. So that brings me to this question, Shujata, that have you had male allies who have supported your career progression?
Yes. So interestingly, when I was in the corporate world, I have seen 50-50. Like I have worked with, let's say, 50% of my bosses were women and 50% were male. And 50% of those male bosses were supportive and 50 were not. 50% of those female bosses were supportive, and another 50% of the female boss is the reason why I was demoted. And she assumed that I was not capable enough to perform in my senior role, so she pushed me down in the category. And I was like, okay. so so for me, it is not to do with whether it is a male colleague or it is a female colleague. It's a female boss or a male boss. It's more about the awareness. It's about those slight sensitivities. It's about that empathy that you can show for others. Like, I mean, I can, as I said, in my life, I've had male allies who have really helped me, who have really pushed me further, starting with my father, who had always given me the courage and never stopped me from doing anything. And I mean anything. So that was one. Then my teachers, all my teachers were male teachers who really pushed me further. My male bosses, most of them, as I said, 50% of them were really good. They would, like, I was given the responsibility. I was all young at that time, probably 25, 26, 2 to 3 years into the industry. I was given the responsibility of training senior sales folks of a company to in a new product. So you can imagine all 15, 20 years of experience folks sitting in the room, and I am training them, in sales, because I knew the product better than them. So that was the kind of that was the kind of faith my boss had in me. And that's why he allowed me, and that allowed me to grow quickly and further, and gain those exposures, gain those experiences that I needed. Off late, I was working with a male leader, and he was hiring. I want to tell this story because this is very, very important for everyone. uh, he was about to hire a woman employee. Now they were hiring her in Hyderabad location. I mean, it was for Hyderabad location, but she couldn't move. She was in Bangalore location and she couldn't move. She was okay with virtual working. So the company was around that time working virtually. This is post pandemic we're talking about. So, virtual working was comfortable and normalized. So they were okay with that she not moving to Hyderabad. Next came her salary negotiations. Now, when she sent her current salary and when the leader looked into the salary, he was shocked. He was shocked, and he was thinking, how can I hire her? And that's when he came up to me, and he had a conversation with me. He had a discussion with me. He said, Srijata, see, I'm going to hire her in this particular level, let's say level A, right? In level A, and in level A, her contemporaries are earning 60% more than her. Okay. And how can I now hire her? Her salary is not that much. How can I hire her in that much salary hike? I don't know what to do. She has asked for a 30% salary hike. Should I really go ahead and give her, 50%, 60%? What do I do? I don't know. So then I said, okay, do you have the budget? He said, yes, I do. I said, does the company care how much you're giving salary to an employee if they're right fit within that budget? He said, no, I can give how much ever I can, how much ever I should be, how much within that budget. I said, if you had to match up her salary with the current team that is working in that same space, will you go beyond budget? He said, no. I said, then why? Who's stopping you to give 50%, 60% hike? Why do you have to give 30% hike? If you give her that 50% hike, it is going to not only bring your team at par, you're going to get the right resource, but you're also actually helping her becoming confident enough to ask that much hike in the next job. Then he went, he's like, yeah, you're right. Who's stopping me? So, it's as simple as that. It is as simple as that. Because as women, we don't know how to negotiate good with for our salaries. And that's why we end up into lower salaries. And when we end up into lower salaries and we ask lower, so the gap keeps increasing between us and our peers. It has to be those male allies or any other allies, male, female, I don't care, any ally who realizes that this has happened over a period of time due to certain condition or the other, and close that gap. And that is what this leader did with a lot of applause. He hired her with 60% hike in salary, and she is doing amazing in the organization right now.
So, Srijata, that's a great example. I mean, it has, I would take it in three phases: the woman, the leader, and the coach.
Yeah.
And I think that all three played an important role to bridging that gap or closing that gap. One, so I would say applause to all of you in this whole process to bridging that gap and bringing more, bringing more equality so that women can also have the same level of pay that they should have been having from the first place. I'm going
Yeah.
to quickly take you now to your book because we are coming to the close of the show, which is your second book, which is called Soar. And the title of the book is Soar, How to Break the Glass Ceilings and Power Your Growth. So let's talk a little bit about that. Srijata, how can you share with women to break these glass ceilings?
So how to break glass ceilings? This is a big question among all of us women. How do I break my glass ceiling in the organizations? My boss, I'm not getting the right kind of promotions and blah 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 blah. Well, that is a different way of doing it. But first of all, are you ready to break the glass ceiling that you are holding yourself with? The glass ceiling that is stopping you from taking that leap of faith, from going ahead and sitting on the table and demanding, I deserve this. Give me this. Have you stopped questioning yourself that, am I good enough? Have you stopped going through the imposter syndrome? Oh, no, 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 I can't do this or I can't be that. That's your glass ceiling. In the book, I have shared not one, not two, at least 7 resources, 7 toolkits that they can use to break each one of these glass ceilings that they are dealing with, whether it is at workplace, whether it is at home, whether it is at their personal level, or any of those things. It can help them break those glass ceiling one at a time.
And I'm going to add over here that Srijata's book is now available on Kindle for free. So don't miss this opportunity to read about the book and leave your reviews for Srijata, because all of us, and share those tips with others and share that knowledge with others, because all of us are dealing with glass ceilings, more internal versus external, because once we are able to break our own glass ceilings and our own head, we will be able to grow externally, because that courage to ask for our value will start coming to all of us. Srijata, last final advice to women leaders on how they can soar.
Yes. So I can say plethora of things, but I think only one thing I would say here, because that's the most important of all. And that has been my mantra in life, to grow where I've grown and be the kind of person that I am. And that is, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. That's where the entire growth, success, happiness, excitement, all of this lies in. Go ahead, do something that makes you feel uncomfortable. Can I really do this? Should I really be trying this? If you are asking those questions to yourself, the answer is yes. That lies in your uncomfortable zone. So go ahead, take that leap of faith, go into that uncomfortable zone and do something, one thing, let's say a day, which makes you feel slightly uncomfortable. And eventually, you will be a pro at finding comfort in uncomfort zone.
And with that, I'm just going to remind all our listeners that it comes back to the 3C framework that I share about. And the first C is courage. Let's be courageous so that we can be uncomfortable. I mean, we can be comfortable in our uncomfort zone. With that, I would like to say thank you to Srijata Bhatnagar for being on Leadership Talks for Emerging Leaders podcast. Till next week, same time, we'll be back with another amazing leader with her stories. Follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook, and Leadership Talks for Emerging Leaders on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Till next week, this is Kiran and Srijata saying goodbye. Thank you.
Bye. See you.